Picture two people, same age, same degree, same level of confusion about what to do with their lives. The first does what most people do. They research, they take personality tests, they read books about passion and purpose, they journal, they talk to friends, and they wait for certainty, for the right feeling, for the moment when something finally feels important enough to commit to. The second starts experimenting immediately. A freelance project here, a new skill tested over 30 days there. Small bets with real feedback and constant adjustment based on what they actually discover. 10 years later, their lives look completely different. The first is still searching, still asking the same questions they were asking a decade ago. The second has built real skills, found genuine direction, and created something that actually fits who they are. The difference wasn't talent. It wasn't confidence. It wasn't even knowing the right answer sooner. It was understanding one thing. The people who figure out their careers don't discover their passion. They run experiments. Here's what nobody tells you about having many interests. The years pass faster than you think. At 23, being undecided feels normal. At 28, it starts to feel concerning. But the real moment, the one nobody prepares you for, comes later. You're 35, you're sitting somewhere, doing something that feels like almost the right thing, and you do the math. 5 years spent researching career options. 2 years changing your mind, 3 years waiting for certainty, 10 years of your life, organized around the idea that the answer was coming, that one more book, one more test, one more conversation would finally make things clear. And then you think about someone you went to school with, not smarter than you, not more talented, but they started moving while you were still thinking. They took bad freelance jobs and learned from them. They built skills in public and got better. They failed at things and adjusted. Their path wasn't clean. They took a job they hated for 8 months and quit. They started a side project that went nowhere. They learned a skill that turned out to be the wrong one. But every one of those moves taught them something they couldn't have learned any other way. While you were researching which path had the highest success rate, they were accumulating the one thing that actually builds a career, evidence about what works for them specifically. Now they have income that reflects their expertise, a reputation in a field, options you don't have yet. And they got there not because they figured it out faster, but because they accepted imperfect information and started moving. That realization doesn't just sting, it changes how you see every year you spent waiting. Most people don't fail because they choose the wrong career. They fail because they wait too long to choose anything at all. The wrong choice gives you information. Waiting gives you nothing except the slow feeling that time is passing while you're still preparing to begin. It disguises itself well. Reading about careers feels like work. Taking assessments feels like progress. Watching interviews with people who found their path feels like research. But none of it generates the one thing you actually need: direct, personal feedback from trying something real. Information about other people's experiences is not the same as data about your own. This is where the conventional advice makes things worse. Follow your passion tells you that clarity is a feeling that arrives before action, that somewhere inside you there is one thing, and your job is to feel your way to it. Researchers found something different: interest fit. The thing that actually predicts whether someone performs well and stays committed can only be identified through lived experience. Not through introspection, not through assessments, only by doing the work and observing what happens. This doesn't mean jumping blindly. It means designing experiments small enough that the cost of being wrong is low and the value of the information is high. A 30-day project, a single client, a prototype built on weekends. You cannot feel your way to fit. You have to work your way there, which means the answer isn't inside you, waiting to be found. It's outside, waiting to be built. So the real question isn't, what should I do with my life? It's, what is the smallest experiment I could run this month that would give me a concrete answer to something I don't already know? The first question is paralyzing. The second one is solvable. And the answer to enough second questions eventually answers the first one. But here's something psychologists discovered that most people never realize. The biggest obstacle to career clarity isn't a lack of options. It isn't a lack of talent. And it isn't bad luck. It's something much more dangerous: the belief that you need certainty before you act. And the longer you obey that belief, the stronger it becomes, which means something unsettling. Waiting for confidence doesn't create confidence. It destroys it. But most people never get there. And an analysis of 86 studies and 54,000 people found out why. Career indecision isn't caused by too many options. It's caused by one thing: low self-efficacy. The belief that you cannot evaluate your situation and make a call without complete certainty first. The problem was never that you had too many interests. The problem was that you were using a method, reflection, waiting, analyzing, that doesn't produce the kind of evidence you need to move forward with confidence. Self-efficacy isn't built in your head. When you make small decisions, observe what happens, and discover that you handle the outcomes better than you thought. The reason most people don't experiment isn't laziness. It's that experiments feel like commitment. If you try something and it doesn't work, you have to admit it didn't work. Staying in research mode keeps all options technically open. But open options with no evidence aren't freedom. They're just expensive uncertainty with a better reputation. Most people imagine that clarity arrives all at once, a moment when everything clicks and the path becomes obvious. That's not what happens. What actually happens is quieter. After your first experiment, you know one more thing than you did before. After your third, you have a pattern. After your sixth, you have something that starts to look like direction. The confidence doesn't come before the experiments. It's produced by them. So the method is straightforward. Not easy, but straightforward. Pick 3 directions that genuinely pull your attention right now. Not the ones you think you should care about, the ones that actually catch your interest when no one is watching. Design the smallest concrete test for each: a side project, a freelance assignment, a single conversation with someone already doing the work. Then evaluate on 5 signals only: your energy during the actual work, not the idea of the work, but the hours inside it. Are you drained or quietly absorbed? How fast your skills are growing, not compared to others, but compared to yourself 3 months ago. Whether the market values what you're building, are people paying for it, asking for more, responding in ways that suggest real demand? Whether this rhythm fits your actual life, the hours, the pace, the trade-offs it requires, and what future doors this path opens or closes. Not just what it gives you now, but what it makes possible later. Not excitement, not passion, not how it feels to imagine doing this work. And here's what most people don't expect once they actually start. Even after experiments begin pointing you somewhere, you don't have to choose between who you are and what the work requires. The people who stay most satisfied aren't always the ones who found the perfect role from the start. Think about someone who takes a generic project management role. On paper, it's not their dream, but they notice they're more engaged when working directly with the product team. So they pitch one cross-functional project, then another. 18 months later, the role they're doing barely resembles the job description they were hired for. Nobody handed them that version of the job. They built it incrementally, one small negotiation at a time. That's not a special case. That's how most satisfying careers actually develop. Gradually shaped to fit more of who you actually are. Into the projects you choose, the problems you focus on, the way you approach what you do. The career that fits you doesn't always have to be discovered. Most of the time, it has to be constructed. Maybe there is no perfect career. Maybe nobody finds the one thing. The people who move forward aren't the ones who know. They're the ones who test, who treat each experiment as a question, not a commitment. They gather concrete information instead of waiting for certainty to arrive on its own. The search doesn't end, it just changes shape, from waiting for answers to building them. You don't need a life decision. You need the next good experiment. Someone your age started one today.